Good morning, Judge Phatshoane.
Good morning, Chief Justice.
I can't see your face, so I'm unable to know whether, oh, now I can see you. Are you well?
I'm well, Chief Justice.
Yes. What degrees do you have?
Chief Justice, I've got BProf degree, LLB, and LLM degree, Masters in Human Rights.
From the University of the North, and the last two from Free State University.
From the University of the Free State.
What did you say your emphasis was for your LLM program?
It was human rights.
Yes. And for how many years have you been a judge of the Northern Cape High Court?
For a period of 11 years, Chief Justice.
And before you applied for this position this time around, what leadership positions have you fulfilled?
What leadership positions have I fulfilled? Is that
all right? Maybe I should go ahead of you and say you were Vice President Programs of the South African chapter of the International Association of Women Judges.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's right, Chief Justice.
What exposure, if any, does that really give you to leadership responsibilities?
Chief Justice, I served as the Vice President Programs in the chapter. I was responsible for compiling the social responsibility programs of the chapter. That would be for one of the policies that had to be devised was the family dialogue program, and the health and awareness program. We participated in the World AIDS Day, and the 16 days of activism, Chief Justice. Chief Justice, I've got training, I would say, as a lecturer. The commissioners would have noticed from my CV. And with that training background that I had acquired, I used it in the chapter. We would visit, for instance, in Kimberley, the community of Khalishewe, where we would impart knowledge on matters, family law matters,
Okay.
and so on, Chief Justice.
Okay. No, thank you so much. You've acted as Deputy Judge President, am I right?
That's right, Chief Justice.
Now, what are the challenges in the division, and how do you see yourself fulfilling the role of a dependable partner of the JP? What are you bringing on board? What skills, what leadership capabilities, if any, what managerial skills do you have on the basis of which you believe you suited for the position you've applied for?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Chief Justice, I've got 25 years post-qualification experience. The 10 years of that 5 post-qualification experience, I was a partner in a law firm, a director of a law firm. The previous time when I was before the commission, I gave details of what we had done in that particular law firm. But most importantly, I bring leadership qualities that I've acquired from that firm as a director onto the bench. Now, coming on to the bench, Chief Justice, I had mentioned that I have 11 years of experience on the bench, but the 4 years of that experience was in management. I've been the Deputy Judge President of the Northern Cape High Court at regular intervals. I've been the Judge President of the Labour Courts at regular intervals. When I calculated all the period where I have acted, I must also add that I've acted as the Judge President of the Northern Cape High Court, also at regular intervals. Chief Justice, there are various roles that I played as the acting judge president. If I may, Chief Justice, if I calculate the period in respect of which I executed the tasks of a deputy judge, it equals to 4 years of experience. There was a time, Chief Justice, just fairly recently, last year, where I acted as a deputy judge president for my court, the Northern Cape High Court, and simultaneously discharged the powers and responsibilities of that office in the labor courts as well, simultaneously. And of the responsibilities that I have discharged as Deputy Judge President, as we are enjoined to do in terms of the Constitution and the Superior Courts Act, I have to see to the sittings, determining the sittings of the court. I have to see to the assignment of judicial officers to those sittings. I have to determine the sitting schedules of those courts, where there are adequate number of judges in the division who may be absent for one or other reason, vacation leave or due to ill health. I have to see to it that I contact the office of the minister. The business of the court has to run urgently in certain instances, and request the minister or recommend rather to the minister to appoint acting judges in the division so that the business of the court runs. I have, Chief Justice, have been responsible from 2014 to this day for case flow management in the division. And I must say that I did so with resounding success. If I look at the statistics, if I may, from the period that we started with our case flow management from 2014 onwards, to round off the figure, it's about 1,700 and so matters that were placed under judicial case flow management. Of that number, about 1,165 matters were certified trial ready. The remaining number of 500 or so matters are still being case managed by the judges.
Now, thank you, Judge Phatshoane. I realize you could go on and on. Let me not deny my colleagues the opportunity to engage with you. Colleagues, at this stage, before I call on the JP and the Premier, may I have the list of the names of colleagues who would want to put questions to Judge Phatshoane, please?
Lamola, Makwanisha, Nwima, Nyambi,
Tepe.
Dodovu.
There was somebody before you, Honorable Dodovu. I just don't want to miss out on that colleague.
It's Nyambi.
No, I've got you, Honorable Nyambi. You come before Commissioner Tepe.
Chief Justice, it was me after Nyambi Singh. Thank you.
Nwima, Chief Justice.
I've got you, Honorable Nwima.
Thank you.
Shlema.
Okay, Prof. Sorry, who was that after Prof?
Reichenbach, please, Chief Justice.
Okay, thank you.
And Maya.
JP Mlambo, CJ.
Thank you, JP. Okay.
Did you note my name, CJ?
I did, President. I've got you right
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you. Is there any other colleague? The last is JP Mlambo. Thank you. Honorable JP, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Judge Phatshoane, can you share with us your experience, if any, in leading appellate panels as a judge, either in your capacity as the deputy, a DJP, AJP, or a senior judge on a particular matter? And what experience have you gained, and how would you in future take that forward?
Thank you, JP. I acquired a wealth of experience as a deputy judge president insofar as that is concerned, and that entails judicial leadership. Is Judge Phatshoane capable of providing judicial leadership? Indeed, yes. As a deputy judge president in the Northern Cape High Court, I've sat as a presiding judge where I have to give judicial leadership in the sittings. But more importantly, in the LAC, that's the appellate court in labor matters, the decision of that court goes directly to the Constitutional Court. But I also gave judicial leadership in that capacity. I had to sit as a presiding judge, surrounded by, on one side to the other, very experienced, astute jurists that I've learned a lot from, and that hold me in very high regard and respect me. And one of them, in fact, says my impeccable character, my maturity, my integrity will be a boon to the leadership position that I've applied for.
So you never felt intimidated leading such huge giant men on the benches who were more experienced than you?
Not at all, JP. I've not been intimidated at all, as I say. They are of the view that my maturity will be a boon to the leadership position that I have applied for. I learned a lot from them, and that experience that I learned from them, I implement it even in my division.
Would you comment on your relationships with your colleagues on the bench, and perhaps also include the practitioners generally?
JP, my relationship with my colleagues is very cordial. At the moment, we've got 4 permanent judges. Ordinarily, our bench would be constituted by 7 permanent judges. Of the 4, it's yourself. We've got a formidable, we make a formidable team. I left my 2 sisters behind. My 2 sisters supports me entirely, and they wished me luck with my interviews, and one of them even prayed for me in that regard. One of our colleagues that just retired in December also this morning sent me a message to wish me luck. So to come to the question, my relationship is very, our relationship is very cordial, and there's collegiality in the division. And insofar as the practitioners are concerned, I can only say that they are of the view, you would have noticed, both from the Law Society of South Africa and from the GZB locally, they are of the view that I'm responsive to the needs of the practitioners, and not only practitioners and the community, in the case of the GCB locally, the community of Kimberley. My relationship is very good, JP. Thank you.
Yes. And then regarding the magistracy in the province, did you have an opportunity to interact with them?
Indeed, JP, on a number of occasions, we do interact at the district court level with the chief magistrate. We do interact rather, and now and then the chief magistrate would request me. I remember at a certain stage, he requested me to come and guide them on the efficient court administration, and I went there and did so. So the relationship is quite cordial with the regional court president as well. We often meet in our PEEC meetings, where reports are made both from the regional court and the district courts. The relationship with the magistrate is quite cordial. In fact, I must also add that the regional, the chief magistrate similarly wished me luck with this interviews.
And then at Sajay level, have you played any role?
Very much so, JP. It dates back from 2015, the relationship that I have had with Sajay. 2015, I was still few years in the bench on the bench of the Northern Cape High Court. Sajay requested me to be one of the judges to participate in a program on the justiciability of socio-economic rights that was held at the Center for Human Rights, University of Pretoria. And I remember Justice Jacob was also attending that program. It was an LLM program offered by the center, or rather the University of Pretoria. And in that, during that program, I had to, because there were various judges judges from various countries, and only two from South Africa were contacted by Sajay to help. And I had to, in that program, talk to the justiciability of the socio-economic rights in South Africa. So the relationship dates as far back as that. But again, Sajay would now and then contact me, Judge Phatshoane, would you kindly assist us and with some training? I remember that last year, they requested me to participate in a webinar where I had to give tips, share my experiences, best practices on judgment writing to the magistracy in Kimberley. I did so. And just fairly recently in this year, Sajay requested me to participate in the aspirant judges course. I also did so. JP had to give some training on the law of evictions and foreclosures. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Thank you, Judge Phatshoane.
Thank you, JP. Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. And I'm certain all members know the fact that this is my inaugural sitting in such a meeting. I thought I was going to compensate that by just shutting up. But I just have one question which I want to direct to Judge Phatshoane. What's her conceptualization of of transformative constitutionalism, its adjudicative implications for a province of the Northern Cape, and what would be the adjudicative implications thereof for a province like the Northern Cape?
The adjudicative process of, come again, Commissioner?
No. What I was asking is, how do you conceptualize transformative constitutionalism?
Right.
And number two, its adjudicative implications for a province like the Northern Cape.
Right. Premier, I will respond to the question this way. As judges, we are enjoined in terms of the Constitution in terms of Section 39 to interpret any let me put it in this way. When called upon to interpret any law, we have to do so in accordance with the values that underlie the open and democratic society based on human dignity, equality, and freedoms. And we have to take into account the international law, and we also have to take into account foreign law. That is when we interpret the human rights itself, if I may go back there. But when we interpret any other law or the Bill of Rights, Commissioner, when we interpret any other law or develop common law, or for that matter, customary law, we have to take into account the import of the human rights as are entrenched in our Constitution. Now I'm looking at the transformative constitutionalism in this way. As judges, that's how we will go about in the interpretation of law. But we have to be situation sensitive. That's very important. You interpret the law or apply the law being situation sensitive. And by that, it does not necessarily follow that you have to interpret the law looking at a particular constituency. We have to apply the law impartially, without fear, favor, or prejudice. And we have to look at the social context. We have a history as a country. That social context is important. Thank you. In a transformative environment, the judges should be alive to these issues that had affected the majority of the people of South Africa and be situation sensitive. Judge in the social context, but not forgetting that at all costs, you have to look at the Constitution and you have to look at the law, because this country is governed by the rule of law and the Constitution as the supreme law of the country.
Honorable Premier, do you have another question?
No, I'm covered. I'm covered, Chief Justice.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice, and
Good morning, Judge Phatshoane.
Good morning, Minister.
My question relates to the fact that you have acted in the division for quite some time, including at the Labour Court. Have you been involved in efforts to modernize the administration of the division and in these years that you have acted? And if not, why? And if you have done so, what do you think you are going to contribute to more efforts to modernize into the division going forward in case you are appointed into this position? How will it benefit that context of modernization?
Minister, modernization of our courts is the way to go in this new digital age. It's very important and it affords, apart from many other facets, court modernization improves access to justice insofar as our accountability data would have to be stored into our IT systems, insofar as the pleadings and all other important court documents would have to be accessed from our IT systems. And indeed, there is always a problem of the digital divide because not so many people have access to the IT system. That divide would have to be bridged at a certain point. Because without providing that modernization, which is but one of the facets to access to justice, we deny people their access to the courts. But regrettably, Minister, some of the tools that would assist us in modernizing our courts, we have to receive them from other, I would say, the Department of Justice itself. As a result, it becomes so difficult to modernize our courts because we are entirely dependent on the resources that we have to receive from the department. As we speak, Minister, we have to use our own facilities as judges in order to get the work done. It becomes difficult in that regard because we have to use our own resources. And I must also say that at present, in our division, there has been a move really insofar as modernization of our court is concerned. The efforts are being made by the department to see to it that the appropriate Wi-Fi system is installed, which will help us to give that efficient and effective service to the people of this country. Thank you, Minister.
Is it the Department of Justice or the Office of
the Office of as I understand, the Office of the Chief Justice would also have to provide, but certain of the resources we would receive from the department.
Oh, okay. So what has been your role? That's what I wanted to understand. What has been your role in this process of modernization, and how will your appointment enhance or help the process?
Minister, in our engagements, for instance, these are some of the things that we will the lack of proper IT systems. These are the things that we would normally discuss in our meetings, and that we would make the department aware of where we're lacking and request necessary assistance insofar as that is concerned, Minister.
Thank you, CJ, and thank you, Judge.
Minister.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Magwanisha.
Thank you very much, CJ. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Commissioner.
I have only one question. Generally, it is always viewed that the position of deputizing is a test of character.
It is a
test of character. There are push-pull pressures. There are people whom you are supervising, but also there is a concept of leading upwards. You are not only leading the people you are supervising, you need also to lead your supervisor, in this case your judge president, ensuring that at all material times there is cohesion, there's good relationships. How would you do that?
It's very important to a leadership position that one should instill collegiality amongst colleagues. That is very fundamental. In fact, in our norms and standards, as a leader, you have to ensure that there are collegial relations between yourself, for one, and your judge president, and between yourself and the other judges of the division and the employees in general. Commissioner, I have got the necessary skill to do that, because Commissioner would have noticed from my CV that I've arbitration and conciliation experiences should there be a dispute, which I've acquired as far back as during the times when I was a commissioner in various bargaining councils and the CCMA. That skill you use to harness your relationship with your colleagues. You also have to have that inviting and an open door policy with regard to your colleagues. I've got good interpersonal relationship. There's no question about that. And that will be an added advantage to the leadership position that I've applied for. Thank you, Commissioner.
I would have thought that the judge would have gone at length to explain, because I think the operative word is how. How are you going to ensure that you are leading upwards?
Right, I hear what you're saying, Commissioner. As I said, through my conciliation skills, you invite a colleague if there be an issue, and you discuss with them the problem, and you try to resolve that problem at the earliest opportunity. Because if a problem is not resolved at an earliest opportunity, it may breed or yield into a big problem. So at the earliest opportunity, you try to resolve whatever difference might be, and not only with colleagues, including the employees. And now, and quite often, the employees would come as the Deputy Judge President, your office, there's always a knock at your door from employees. There is this particular problem, Judge. Can you please assist us with that? I will sit with them, discuss the problem in a manner that I will do as I would be sitting in a conciliation, ensuring that at the end of the day, there is a win-win situation from both parties and the disputes are resolved. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Just to try and, I don't think Honorable Magwanisha is satisfied. Let me try and help. What if your boss is unreasonable or makes the operation of the institution very difficult? What do you see as your role to bridge the gap between the JP and the rest of the colleagues or the managers? How do you see yourself fulfilling the role of smoothing things or the relationship, particularly when the leader might be having challenges he does not know how to go about? Did I understand you correctly, Honorable Magwanisha?
That's correct, Chief Justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief Justice, for the clarification. Again, I'm going to have to refer to my conciliation skills. You discussed the matter with your JP. You discussed the matter with the other party, and try to resolve whatever the differences of opinion through open discussions, Commissioner, by both parties, playing that conciliatory role between the parties. Commissioner.
Chief Justice, I will not take
and
it
in the
Yes.
event, if I have to carry on, in the event of an impasse, there's always the next level in terms of which you have to resolve your matter. As the Deputy Judge President, obviously, you have to act in terms of according to the norms and standards. They prescribe to us that you performing your functions in terms of the Superior Court Act and any other law as assigned to you by a judge president. In other words, you are in a way a judge president in the absence of the judge president or as assigned in terms of the law. So in the event of the impasse, there's always reporting the matter to the Chief Justice to see if it can be, if it's a relational problem, if it can be resolved in that way. But you try, you attempt to do your conciliation, reconciling colleagues. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chief Justice. I will not take it any further.
Thank you very much, Honorable Magwanisha. Honorable Muima.
Chief Justice. Good morning, Justice Phatshoane.
Thank you, Honorable Muima.
The question that I want to ask you relate to one of the prominent cases that you presented over in the Northern Cape. At what point, within the context of the politically exposed people and the politically connected people, do you draw a line between the right to embark on the freedom of economic activity and the right to ensure that the procurement regime processes are respected? the reason why I'm asking this question, it's informed by the fact on the commitment of the party that has sent us to Parliament to fight corruption. And I suspect there's a need to have a clarity of thought in terms of how far as a leader of the executive authority or a member of the executive council or the mayor or a councillor can you go in terms of the canon of restraints that are there, which are outlined within the procurement processes as envisaged by Section 217. The reason why I'm raising this question is because obviously your judgment was affirmed both in the SCA and also the Common Court. But what was of interest to me is this point that was raised in the Supreme Court of Appeal. With the indulgence, Chief Justice, let me just paraphrase it. The Supreme Court of Appeal dismissed an appeal in a corruption-related case involving a former member of the...
Sorry, Honorable Moima. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. President Maya indicated yesterday that when we speak softly, she can't hear us. I'm raising a concern just for her benefit.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you very much.
The Supreme Court of Appeal said in doing so, the court mentioned that Mr. B had been a political leader who had achieved a high political office, which he abused to corruptly enrich himself. That the political leaders of this country should set the example and not misuse public office to corruptly obtain personal wealth. And that in these circumstances, it was necessary for an unequivocal message to be sent out there that corruption on the part of politicians holding high offices would not be tolerated. Let me stop there. Can the Justice Phatshoane respond?
Thank you, Commissioner. Ours as the court is to interpret the law. We look at the facts as placed before us as judges, and we apply the law to those facts. In that case, that was the finding that was made based on the facts that were before court. Commissioner is referring to balancing the interaction. You refer to that. Now, as we all know, that the judicial authority of our country, in terms of the Constitution, vests with the courts, and they must act impartially and independently without any fear, favor, or prejudice, in accordance with the oath of office that they took. Insofar as the interaction is concerned, there might be some interaction in this way, in the sense that the organs of the state are required in terms of the law to support the courts by means of legislative and other means. There should always be a delicate balancing of the boundaries between the three arms of government. We will be faced with the facts that are before us, and we have to apply the law as the judiciary. Thank you, Honorable Muimang. Sorry, I hope that I...
Justice
My
Phatshoane.
apologies.
Thank you, Justice. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Honorable Muimang. Honorable Nyambi.
Thank you, CJ. Morning, Judge Phatshoane.
morning, Commissioner Nyambi.
I want to take it from where the Premier left it off. We know that Northern Cape is vast, rural, and sparsely populated. So if you can be appointed in this senior position, those things that I've mentioned, sometimes they are impediment to justice. What is it that you can do in terms of the immediate challenges to make sure that the ordinary people in deep rural areas, in that vast province, will have access to justice?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Nyambi. It is imperative that we should provide access to justice as the courts. How do we do that? At the moment, in the Northern Cape, we've got about 7 circuit courts. In Uppington, in Springbok, Colesberg, and the other far-flung areas of the Northern Cape. These circuit courts provide access to justice. We also not only do criminal work in those courts, we also do motion proceedings, conduct motion proceedings to ensure access to justice. And not only is the High Court providing this access to justice, we've got the regional courts sitting in these areas. We also have 60 service points that are served by the district courts, including periodical courts providing access to justice. And Commissioner, I will take it even further that in order to provide access to justice, we would have to look at the public defender system, appointing more legal aid practitioners with attractive remuneration, appointing prosecutors to provide this access. I sat in the Provincial Efficiency Enhancement Committee. There was a time when there was a moratorium on the appointment of prosecutors and legal aid practitioners. And in that committee, the issue was resolved at some point. There are legal practitioners from the legal aid and prosecutors that had been appointed. I think it would be shortly before the COVID-19 struck. But not only do we have to, well, perhaps maybe I should even expand more on this, on the practitioners. Which I would call a challenge is some of the practitioners are overbooked. And if we were to appoint more practitioners, that would alleviate the problem and ensure that we give justice to the people. But we also provide access through our case flow management system. We have to give effective, efficient service to our people. It must be remembered that through case flow management, the judges control the pace of litigation at an earliest opportunity, avoiding delays. That in itself provides access to justice. And flowing from the minister's question, the court modernization would also assist in providing access to justice. And in some of our district courts, we would have what is called the audio visual remand system, where matters are being remanded, remotely from the court itself. An accused person will be sitting in prison, and that way we providing access to justice.
I won't ask you the second question. I'll just give you a message that as we are interviewed here today, if I'm not mistaken, is for the 4th time for the same position. The message is that never give up, because great things take time. Thank you. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Honorable Nyambi. Commissioner Tsepe.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioner.
Judge, you earlier spoke about the fact that although you have 7 positions in court, there are only 4 permanent judges, so you have to have a lot of acting appointments. What I wanted to ask you is, what systems do you have in place in your division to support acting judges, to equip them in the running of the courts and in judgment writings? And if you don't have, what would you propose were you to be offered the position? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. What we have in the judiciary to assist our aspirant judges to acquire the necessary skills, we would have training that is offered by SAJE, South African Judicial Education Institute, to our aspirant judges, whereas judges, to discharge our mandate, we have to participate in the SAJE training courses and train our aspirant judges. As I said earlier, that I have at some point gave judgment tips on judgment writing, sharing my experience and some of the best practices. And fairly recently, I also did so give that training, but it doesn't end there. In the division itself, as a deputy judge president, we always encourage our acting judges that if there is a problem that they can't resolve, you speak to the judge. As colleagues, we have to bounce issues. You have to have that mentoring a skill for the acting judge, and you have to mentor them to become judges of tomorrow. I have done that with our acting judges. Now and then they would come and request some advice here and on some of the issues really that confronts them. That I have done. And you always encourage other senior judges to open their doors as well for the acting judges that are coming into the court for the first time, to expose them to the workings of the court, the judging process itself. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Tsepe. Honorable Singh.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Good morning to you and to fellow commissioners and admin team, and good morning, Judge Phatshoane.
Good morning, Commissioner Singh.
Yeah, I am not going to ask any questions on your suitability because I personally believe you are eminently qualified and suitable to occupy the position that you've applied for. But I am just going to make an assertion and give you my understanding of something, and I may be wrong, and it relates to your participation in community and other organizations. Now, I see you are quite involved in the Solplaiki University. Now, from my knowledge, I know judges and even the Chief Justice was the Chancellor at our very proud university. Our university was very proud of UKZN. but that was more a ceremonial function as a chancellor. It would seem to me that your function here and responsibilities are more on the operational side. Chairperson of Human Resource Committee, member of Exco of Council. And given the fact that there are universities and even students that are taking matters to court of late, I'm just wondering, do you not see a conflict of interest in your participation in that university in these capacities and your ability to sit as a judge if a matter of a university comes before you from whichever source, whether it's from students or the minister or anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. I serve in the Council of the University of Solplaki as the chairperson of the HR committee, in the executive committee, and in the remuneration committee, Commissioner. I see that as a positive for the leadership position that I have applied, because it goes on to show how versatile I am and how I am responsive to the needs of the community of Kimberley. I do not see it as a conflict of interest. And I need to say this again, that I have done a served from the council from 2014, and during my sitting as a council member to this date, I have not received any remuneration from the council of the university, or whether you call it royalties. Instead, what I had said to them is that I am here to impart the knowledge that I have to assist. And it is also important to say that as a council member, you are not necessarily involved in operation. You are much more involved at a governance level. Whatever stipend was due to me as a council member, I've requested them that they give out that money as a donation to the Vice Chancellor's Bursary Fund to assist the people of the Northern Cape. Insofar as there may be matters, it will be one matter from that university that will probably come before our courts for adjudication. And insofar as that is concerned, I cannot, as a judge, act in those matters that involve the University of Solplaki. You recuse yourself from the onset.
Thank you, Judge Phatshoane. Thank you, Chief
And for
Justice.
that, Commissioner, I believe that there would not be any conflict of interest emanating there.
Thank you, Honorable Singh. Honorable Dodovu?
CJ.
Yes, sir. Honorable Malema, is that you?
Yes, morning CJ and morning Judge.
Morning, sir. You want to follow up?
Yes.
All right. Please follow up, sir.
Don't you think it is actually good and in the best interest of the judiciary to participate in positions that are ceremonial than positions that have got some power somehow to take decisions? Because as a judge, if we are to participate in that committee and that committee takes some wrong decisions, you will never take leave from yourself as a judge, even as you serve in that committee. So I think that judges should avoid participating in positions of power outside the judiciary. And that's why when they become chancellors. It's a ceremonial responsibility. It has got nothing to do with you taking any type of, it's not about you getting money out of it. It's also about decision making. There might be wrong decisions taken by that committee, and when they are taken to the Northern Cape High Court, and that Northern Cape High Court rules against those who are litigating against the institution, or in particular your committee, will still be offended because what are, I agree that chairperson is the judge of that High Court. What do you expect? There's no, they will rule in our favor. Because it is what people perceive, it's not necessarily what is factual. So I think you may want to, there may not be a rule that, exclude you from participating in such things. But at times, it's very disturbing to get judges involved in those types of things. You are now going to be DJP by the look of things. I'm not prophesizing, but it looks good. So now, you are going to be a DJP, and then we are going to litigate with Northern Cape University or Prague University in the Northern Cape High Court, where you are the DJP. And at the same time in this university, you are the chairperson of the committee. And when we lose in public rallies, politicians with good languages will say to them, what do you expect? The same DJP is a member, a chairperson of a committee in this university, and then we go to the same court, that's why we lost. And in the eyes of a layman, it looks like indeed it is so, and it damages the image of the judiciary. Thank you, CJ.
Commissioner Malema, justice must not only be done, but must be seen to have been done. I take your point, and yeah, we will take it from there. I did not see it in that way, because one really looks at it as your way of giving back to the community that you are serving. But I take your point.
Honorable Dodovu.
Thank you very much, CJ. Good morning, Justice.
Good morning, Commissioner.
When I was the executive mayor of the city of Matlosana, I interacted with some of the documents where you advise our city about how it must go about resolving the disciplinary matters, and that was quite good. That was at a time when you were still practicing. It was very, very good.
Thank you, Commissioner.
My two questions. The first one, all the legal bodies support your candidature as the deputy judge president. But on the other hand, the concerned members of the Kimberley community are raising some criticism about you. They say you are arrogant, you don't listen to them, you are divisive, you also fight with your colleagues, amongst others. How do you reconcile the two? How do you respond to these allegations?
Commissioner, that is very irreconcilable. As you say, those are allegations. They are certainly unsubstantiated. I look at the allegations, I don't see myself as that. All the people, as you said, who gave testimonials in this interview do not see me in that light. Those are unsubstantiated allegations, Commissioner. Thank you.
Let me link that with what I observed when I was reading the documents of your previous appearance here. A matter between yourself and Judge Pakati was coming up very strong, and people were, commissioners were raising a lot of issues around that particular matter. What lessons have you learned
from that, and how, if you are now going to be in a leadership management position, how can you improve the situation so that there is collegiality, good relationships within the court?
Right. Thank you, Commissioner, for that. As I said earlier, there are collegial relations on Northern Cape Court bench. It's 4 permanent judges at the moment. How do you foster a culture of collegiality? You attend to your colleagues' chambers. You have friendly discussions, either on the law, on issues that are not really or extrajudicial issues. You sit in a tea room together. Sometimes you will bring a cake to the colleagues. In that way, you fostering that culture of collegiality amongst the colleagues. As I said, Commissioner, the allegations as painted, I don't see myself in that. I've got good interpersonal skills, good interpersonal skills, Commissioner, amongst others. And yeah, I will stop there, Commissioner.
Can I make a follow-up? Okay, I see your calmness. I think you're going up there. Thank you very much. Thank you, CJ. A follow-up, CJ Cyril Klaba.
Thank you, Honorable Dodofu. Please proceed, Honorable Klaba.
Thank you very much for the indulgence, CJ. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
How are you this
Commissioner?
morning?
I'm fine, thanks, and you?
I'm good, thank you so much. Just as a follow-up on the question that Commissioner Dodofu raised, there was a perception that you were a blue-eyed girl of the leadership of the division, or let me say the past leadership of the the past leadership of the division.
Honorable Klaba, just so that we don't get into trouble, allow me to interrupt you. Maybe you should say a blue-eyed woman.
Oh yes, no, not a perception.
I was just saying, instead of saying girl.
You are right, CJ.
Thank you, sir.
Correction accepted. A blue-eyed woman or a blue-eyed judge. All right. And thank you very much. And how does that make you feel as a judge who has achieved so much, at least from what I can glean from your CV? And what have you learned from this saga, if I may call it that? Thanks.
Commissioner, I don't know. As you say, there was that perception. But I would, and I don't really want to get into too much details about it, except to say that the allegations may have been made that I was dead, but I would dispute that I was dead, because the previous leadership, as you put it, Commissioner, exposed all of us really to the workings of the division. I did not consider myself to be that. I considered myself to be a judge that was spontaneous, attending to my work and hardworking. And I really don't want to go further into that and to say that that my experience really coming back from practice would show that in itself was a boon. It was an added advantage to how I have done my work. But I certainly, it was a perception, but I don't see myself.
I'm satisfied. Thanks, CJ.
Thank you very much, Honorable Klaba. Prof.
Thank you, sir. I've been covered. Thanks.
Thank you, Prof. Honorable Breitenbach. Honorable Breitenbach.
Sorry, I'm having trouble unmuting. Thank you, Chief Justice. My question has become moot. It was asked by someone else.
Thank you very much. President.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good morning, Judge Phatshoane.
Good morning, President Maya.
My substantive questions have been covered. Just a follow-up question from the possible conflict posited by Commissioner Malema that might arise from your involvement with Sol Plaatje University if the university were a litigant in your court. Would you not consider recusing yourself from those matters?
Indeed.
Just to avoid trouble?
Justice Maya, initially when I responded to the question, I indeed said that one of the issues is one thing that one has to do to avoid conflict of interest is to recuse yourself, or not to recuse yourself, really not to be involved at all in a matter that comes from that university. It doesn't even have to come to the point where you have to recuse yourself. Ordinarily, when that matter comes, you know that you shouldn't handle the matter. Other colleagues should handle the matter.
Yes. I'm sorry, I missed that part of your answer. Lastly, if you are appointed for this position, which I hope you will you be able to see your current acting stint at the SCA to the end and hopefully apply for a permanent position there in the foreseeable future?
Commissioner Maya, come again. Come again.
No, I'm asking if you'd be able to see your acting stint at the SCA to the end if you are appointed now, because we hope to have you for some while yet, for a number of months.
Indeed.
And there's a tail to this question, whether you'd still consider applying for a permanent position at the SCA, nonetheless having chosen this leadership trajectory in the foreseeable future.
True. Yes, that's a matter that's not appearing before the or in my CV. Would be that with effect from the 1st of April, Commissioner Maya says, I am acting as a judge of the Supreme Court of Appeal until the 30th of September, if my memory serves me. Commissioner Maya, only time will tell. But let me put it this way, that I have acted in the LA scene, and I acquired a wealth of experience from that court and from my colleagues who I sat with in that court, which I applied in my court. It helps the division acting in other high courts, because when you from those courts, you come with a wealth of experience that you would implement in your division. At this point, I see myself as a judge who's going to the Supreme Court of Appeal, will be acquiring a wealth of experience in that court, will go back to a bench in the Northern Cape and apply that experience that I would have gained from that court. Will I make myself available, Commissioner? President Maya, as I said, only time will tell.
Fair enough, Judge Phatshoane. Thank you very much.
Follow up, CJ.
Yes, Honorable Malema. Is that you, Honorable Malema, or Advocate none of you. Okay, Commissioner Sigogo. I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't make out your voice. Please go ahead.
CJ Lamula, also a follow-up.
You'll come after Commissioner Sigogo, Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning to you. I'm worried. That's why I'm making this follow-up. Put me at ease that we're not going to come back here and interview you for the ACA in the next sitting of the commission if we appoint you to this position. Thank you. I said in the coming sitting of the JSC.
The coming sitting of the JSC is in September this year, in October this year, and I will still be acting as the judge of the SCA. My take is that it will be too soon for me to be raising my hand at that stage.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Commissioner Sigogo. Honorable Minister.
Yeah, thank you, CJ. Mine is also a follow-up on the question from the President of the Supreme Court of Appeal and also Honorable Malema with regards to your involvement with the Council of Sol Plaatje. I'm raising this because I know that there's a lot of judges, even the leadership of the judiciary, who sits in these various councils. Some of them are councillors of the universities because of their standing in society. I've only seen the CJ maybe 2 weeks ago, a week, resigning from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. So I don't want us to send a message out there that it might be something that might arise a conflict of interest. Do you think this kind of giving back to the community and so forth, has it caused problems in the past amongst litigants with universities?
So far, Minister, it hasn't. And as I said, I started in 2014 with that council. At this point, there has never been any issue taken with my involvement at the university. Nor has, for that matter, any matter nor has any matter been referred to me that came from that university to consider as a judge.
Okay, no, thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Judge Phatshoane. You are excused, ma'am.
Chief Justice, I had put my name down, but the issue I want to raise with this candidate, I'll probably raise in the closed session.
Okay, you don't want to give her any opportunity to respond to it, sir.
It relates to these questions about whether acting in the SCA means you won't come back here to be interviewed again shortly. I think it's fair to ask candidates to make undertakings to this body regarding their future prospects in any way. Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Okay. I apologize to you, JP, for I see your name is here right at the bottom of my list. Sorry, sir.
I don't require any response from this candidate. I think that issue has been canvassed with her thoroughly. Thank you, Chief.
No, thank you very much. Thank you, Judge Phatshoane. You're excused.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Judge.